My twin brother disappeared 2 years ago without a trace. Last week, I received a letter with no return address. It said, "The house is yours now. But you must follow the 9 rules. If you break even one, you'll suffer the fate I did." I thought he went crazy until I moved in. And now, every night, I hear him whispering from the attic. There are 9 rules. You'll only survive if you obey. Asterisk the letter that changed everything. It all started with the letter. Thick, yellowing, parchment. No stamp, no sender. Just a wax seal with the family crest. 2 wolves devouring each other. Dear Eric, if you're reading this, it means I'm no longer among the sane. The family house is yours now. But beware, it's alive. Obey the 9 rules exactly. If you fail, you won't just die, you'll become part of it. Elias, my twin brother, Elias, vanished 2 years ago. No goodbye, no trace. The police found his blood in the attic, but no body, no clues. He was obsessed with our family's history, rituals, curses, the old house in Raven Hollow. Everyone said he'd lost his mind, but I had to know the truth. So last Friday I packed a bag, grabbed a flashlight, and drove 5 hours into the hills, past dead trees, rotting signs, and roads the GPS refused to map, until I reached Hollow Manor. Our ancestral home that it was exactly as I remembered. Tall, suffocating, a monstrous silhouette with broken shutters and twisted iron gates. But now it looked different, older somehow. Angrier. The front door opened by itself when I approached. No breeze, no wind, just a slow, dragging creak, like something exhaling after sleeping too long. Inside, the air was stale, sweet like spoiled fruit. I stepped onto cracked black marble tiles. The chandelier above me swayed, though no one touched it. On the dusty hallway table, beside a broken vase, lay a list, handwritten. In Elias's frantic scrawl, receipt the 9 rules. Rule 1, you must enter before sunset and never leave until sunrise. Rule 2, at 3:15 a.m., the grandfather clock will chime. Wherever you are, hide. Rule 3, if the woman in black knocks at the front door, do not answer, no matter how much she begs. Rule 4, the mirror in the second floor hallway must stay covered at all times. Rule 5, you may hear footsteps in the attic. That is not me. Do not investigate. Rule 6, before midnight, feed the portrait in the dining room a piece of raw meat. Yes, it eats. Rule 7, if the phone rings after 1 a.m., don't pick up. Rule 8, never fall asleep in the same room twice. Rule 9, if you ever see your own reflection blink, run. That means it's too late. My hands trembled. Was this a prank? Some final act of insanity? I should have turned around. I should have burned the list. Instead, I stepped deeper into the house. Point 2. The house feeds on you. The house wasn't abandoned. It watched. The walls pulsed faintly under my fingertips, like skin. Portraits turned to follow me. Their eyes weren't painted. They were preserved. I found my brother's old room on the 2nd floor. It smelled like iron and pine. Inside, notebooks filled with frantic writing, symbols, drawings, maps of the house with red excess. And on the wall, carved deep with fingernails, it knows when you're alone. Midnight crept in like a thick fog. Rule 6 said, feed the portrait. Before midnight, I went to the dining room, flashlight flickering. The painting over the fireplace was grotesque. An old man with hollow black eyes, mouth stretched open in a silent scream. Beneath it, a metal plate was nailed into the wall. Vicarus Hollow, founder. I placed a piece of raw meat I brought, just in case, onto the plate. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the meat was gone, swallowed by the painting as if it had never existed. The mouth twitched, just once, and then I heard the first creak upstairs. Point 3. 3:15 a.m. I didn't sleep that first night. I watched the grandfather clock from the staircase, exactly 3:15 a.m. It let out a chime that rattled my spine. Low, bone deep, final, and something started walking in the walls. Not rats, not creaks, boots, slow, dragging footsteps. Heavy, malevolent, coming down from the attic. I remembered Rule 2, hide. I dove under a rotting couch in the living room, holding my breath. The footsteps entered the room. That I saw the edge of a boot. Polished, black, human, but too long. Then a hand, gray, bloated, crawling with beetles, gripped the arm of the chair beside me. the thing sat down. It whispered my name. Eliasis. It stayed there until the clock chimed again at 4 a.m. Then it got up and walked backward into the shadows. Point 4. Her voice at the door. Second night, at 2:46 a.m. I heard soft weeping. A woman crying just outside the front door. Then, knock, knock, knock. Please, please let me in. It's so cold out here. I'm hurt. Please, I froze. Rule 3. Do not answer. No matter how much she begs. She scratched at the door. Then pounded. Eric, I know you're in there. You let him in. Why not me? I used to rock you to sleep. Don't you remember? Me. My heart nearly stopped. The voice was our mother's, but she'd been dead for 11 years. I peeked through the peephole. There was a woman standing there. Pale, soaking wet, face turned away. Then she jerked her head toward the door, and I saw my own face on her skull. That I stumbled back. The knocking stopped. From the hallway, a soft voice whispered, 1 rule broken, 8 remain. 5. The mirror on the second floor. I'd forgotten to check it. Rule 4. Keep it covered at all times. The old bedsheet had slipped. I stood in front of the mirror, and my reflection didn't move. I blinked. It didn't. I waved. It just stared. Then, it smiled. Blood ran from its eyes. It lifted its hand and wrote something backward across the glass. He's not dead. I ran. I didn't stop until I locked myself in the basement. There, I found the real journal. Elias's last entries. Day 73. The house doesn't want me dead. It wants me to become part of it. I think I already am. Day 74. Rule 10. Never trust the rules. They change when the house gets hungry. Eric moves into the cursed ancestral house his twin brother Elias left behind. Inside, he discovers a list of 9 rules that must be followed to survive. He breaks Rule 3 by interacting with a woman at the door, one that had his mother's voice and his own face. Now, Rule 4 is broken too. The mirror has begun to reflect a version of Eric that doesn't move, and it wrote in blood, he's not dead. Eric finds Elias's real journal in the basement, and it reveals something terrifying. Rule 10. Never trust the rules. They change when the house gets hungry. Asterisk. Something is living inside the walls. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. I huddled in the basement, Elias's journal in my lap, flashlight slowly dying. The walls weren't just groaning, they were breathing. Every now and then, something scraped along the wood behind me. Something with nails. It would stop, like it was listening. Then tap, 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 tap. That I whispered to myself just to hear a human voice. You're not real. You're not real. The basement light blinked. Once, twice. Then, everything went dark. That I climbed back up the stairs slowly, flashlight trembling. The moment I reached the first floor, I knew something had changed. The air smelled wet. Like rain. Mold. Copper. That I turned toward the living room and froze. The wallpaper was peeled back. Huge claw-like gouges in the plaster underneath. And something had been drawn beneath, sigils. Dozens. All matching the pages from Elias's notebook. That's when I heard it again. Ariaic. The voice was above me. From the attic, but it wasn't Elias's voice. It was mine. Point 2. The attic door is open now. The attic had been locked since I arrived. Padlocked. Nailed shut from the outside. Now, it was wide open. Gently swaying. Don't go up there, my gut screamed. Rule 5. You may hear footsteps in the attic. That is not me. Do not investigate. But this wasn't just footsteps anymore. This was a voice. My voice. Come up here, Eric. It's warm, just like it used to be. I took the flashlight and stepped onto the creaking ladder. Each rung screamed under my weight. The smell, rot, sulfur, and something sour, grew stronger with each step. The attic was pitch black. But not empty. There were toys. Hundreds of them. Old porcelain dolls with broken eyes. Stuffed animals with their mouths stitched shut. All arranged in a circle around something in the center. A mirror. Not just any mirror. A full-length Victorian standing glass. And standing in front of it was me. But older. Paler. Eyes black and bleeding. Mouth torn at the corners in a stitched grin. And the reflection moved when I didn't. It pointed at me. Then opened its mouth. One more rule broken. The attic door slammed shut behind me. Point 3. The house rearranges itself. I ran. But when I opened the attic door, the stairs were gone. In their place, the brick wall. Fresh mortar. Still wet. I turned. And the dolls were all facing me now. Mouths open. whispers pouring out in dozens of childlike voices. You let her in. You let him out. The rules are hungry. He's not dead. He's just waiting, I screamed. Kicked at the wall until I bled. Suddenly, behind me, a door opened. A new one that hadn't been there before. I took it without thinking and found myself not in a hallway, but in my childhood bedroom, except it wasn't mine. The posters were wrong. The photos on the wall showed only Elias. And in the center of the bed was a corpse, decayed, bloated, its face turned toward me, except it had no face, just my voice. You broke 2 rules, brother. Let's make it 3. 3:15 a.m. again. I found a way back to the hallway, sprinting past shifting rooms and vanishing doors. The house kept rearranging itself. I turned a corner I thought led to the kitchen and ended up in the funeral parlor room. A casket was open, empty. Its plaque read, Eric Hollow, died 3:15 a.m. No, I whispered. That's tonight. The grandfather clock began to tick. I checked my phone. 3:14 a.m. 1 minute. I ducked into the hall closet and buried myself under coats and moth-eaten drapes. 3:15 hit. The chime was louder this time, and something entered the house, not through a door, through the walls. I held my breath as heavy footfalls stalked the hallway. Then silence. Then Eric, Elias, not a whisper. A voice. His voice, right outside the closet. You can come out now. It's safe. I shook, because I remembered his journal entry. The house mimics voices. Even mine. Especially mine. If you hear me, run. The closet handle twisted. I didn't move. A second later, the voice changed. Fine. I'll wear your skin instead. Then it laughed. Long gurgling, like lungs filling with tar. 5. The 10th rule at sunrise. The door unlocked by itself. I escaped into the front yard, gasping, eyes stinging from the dim light. But as I looked back, the house was gone, vanished, replaced by empty land and dead trees. My phone buzzed. A new message, unknown number. You survived night 1. 7 rules remain. The house will call you back tomorrow. I threw the phone, but deep inside, I knew the truth. You don't move into the hollow house. It moves into you, and it always comes back hungry. Chains Elias's journal. Final page. Eric, if you're reading this, I'm still here. Trapped between rooms, between reflections. Every time a rule is broken, it gets stronger. But there's something worse than the rules. The house is only the beginning. What lives beneath it makes the house look merciful. The house came back. I didn't drive home. Didn't go to a hotel. Didn't tell anyone what happened, because no one would believe me. Not about the woman at the door with my mother's voice. Not about the portrait that ate meat. Not about my reflection writing in its own blood. I stayed in a cheap roadside motel 3 towns away. But when I woke up at midnight, I wasn't in the motel anymore. I was back in the house. Same rotting walls. Same creaking floorboards. Same blood-soaked silence. The bed was gone. I was lying on the hallway floor, and clutched in my hand was a new list. Receipt: the rules have changed. Crossmark Rule 1 is revoked. You may now leave whenever you want. But something will always follow. White heavy checkmark. Rule 2 remains. At 3:15 a.m., the grandfather clock will chime. Wherever you are, hide. Crossmark Rule 3 is now obsolete. The woman at the door is inside the house now. Exclamation mark. Rule 4 is evolving. The mirror doesn't just reflect anymore. It records. Do not let it see you too long. Drop of blood. Rule 5 amended. The footsteps in the attic are now inside your head. Fire Rule 6 requires blood now. The portrait won't eat meat anymore. It wants something fresher. Telephone Rule 7 updated. Answer the phone. You'll be given a task. Refuse, and you'll bleed from your eyes. Bed Rule 8 expanded. Sleep is now monitored. Do not dream. You are vulnerable there. Rule 9 is a trap. If your reflection blinks, it's not you that should run. It's already inside. Brain Rule 10 knew the house has memory. And now, it remembers you. Point 2. The basement door wasn't there before I stood. Drenched in sweat. Barefoot. There were fresh, bloody footprints on the wood. Mine, but too big. Leading toward the back of the house. Where the basement door had always been sealed shut with bricks, now it stood wide open. Eric, a voice whispered, not from behind me, but inside my skull. You were always meant to see beneath. There was no turning back now that I descended. The stairs, each one sank under my feet. The steps weren't wood anymore. They were flesh, and the deeper I went, the more the air changed. Colder, wetter, and thick with the sound of breathing, not mine. Not human. Point 3. The hollow beneath at the bottom was no longer a basement. It was a cavern, massive, carved in stone, with walls covered in living veins pulsing like some ancient heart. Torches lit themselves as I stepped forward. At the center of the chamber stood a stone altar, and on it, Elias. But not like I remembered. He was fused to the altar. His skin stretched, veins feeding into the stone like roots into dirt. His eyes opened. "You came," he rasped. "You shouldn't have come." Dialogue. Eric. Elias. "What did this to you?" Elias. "Not what?" "Who?" "Grandfather." Vicarus. "Hollow. The portrait, it's his tomb. His prison." Eric. "You broke the rules." Elias. "No. I followed them. That's the trap. The house doesn't punish you for disobedience. It punishes you for obedience. Every rule makes it stronger." "I didn't vanish," he whispered. "I was claimed, consumed. And now, you've inherited my curse." Suddenly, the torches blew out. The darkness turned liquid, like ink swallowing light. And from the far end of the cavern, something crawled. Long, thin, its fingers like spider legs. Its face, a mirror. Point 4. The crawling thing, it moved with impossible speed, scaling the ceiling like a spider. Dozens of faces trapped inside its mirrored head, screaming silently. Point 1. Of them was mine. The me that didn't blink in the mirror. The one that smiled on its OWN.IT dropped from the ceiling and stood upright. "You've looked too long," it said in my voice. "Now I get to see through you." I ran, back up the fleshy stairs, through the pulsing walls, toward the door that shouldn't have existed anymore. But the house had changed. IT had turned into a maze. Each hallway branched into 4 more. Each door led somewhere different. Some led to forests, some to other rooms. Some just dropped off into the void. I wasn't running through a house anymore, that I was running through its mind. Point 5. The reflection ritual in the library. I found Elias's ritual journal. He had scribbled something over and over. "You can't kill what reflects, but you can trap it." There were pages torn out, symbols half-drawn. One word was underlined in blood. Mirror mouth. The ritual required 3 things: a shard of the original mirror, a drop of the intruder's blood, a name not given but stolen. I had one of the old broken mirror pieces in my backpack from the attic. I sliced my palm, dripped it onto the glass. Now I needed its name. I baited it, left the mirror shard on the hallway floor, sat in front of the dining room mirror. "Come get me, you son of a bitch." The reflection appeared. It mimicked me, but slower. I began reciting from the journal. "I name thee not mine, but stolen flesh, mimic of mouth. I bind you, mirror mouth." The glass shattered inward, imploding. It screamed. The faces in its head bled black. Then, silence. Point 6. The truth buried deeper. I found one last hidden door behind the grandfather clock. A spiral staircase led downward, much, much deeper than the basement. Below, even the cavern. Here, there were bones, mountains of them. And at the very center, a massive, pulsing eye embedded in the stone floor. It blinked once. And I remembered Elias's words. "There's something worse than the house. What lives beneath it?" From the ceiling, carvings appeared. Dates, names, bloodlines, the Hollow family tree. The last name etched freshly, Eric Hollow, host body. I blinked again, and I felt something crawl up my spine. Something enter my skin. Something whisper, "Only one more night remains. Only one night remains." I don't remember how I got back to the first floor. I woke up on the floor in the parlor room, gasping, soaked in sweat, wrists bruised like I'd been grabbed by something unseen. My head throbbed. My ears were ringing. And carved into the wooden floor beside me were the words, "The rules are hungry." There was a chill in the air, but it wasn't the kind of cold you can explain. It felt intentional, like the house was watching me, waiting. Then I heard the whisper again. "One night left, Eric. Break the final rule. Let it in." 2. Reflections of a twin. I found a mirror. One I had smashed 2 nights ago, now restored, as if time reversed itself. Inside it, my reflection was gone. In its place, Elias. But not like I last saw him on the altar. He was healthy, pale, smiling. Except the smile didn't reach his eyes. "Elias, in mirror, you don't get it, do you? The house doesn't just want bodies. It wants choices. Rule 9 isn't a warning, it's a test. When you see your reflection blink, don't run. That's the moment you become the house. I stumbled away, heart hammering. Every mirror in the house started to scream. Glass bending inward. Faces pressing from the inside. They were all me. Hundreds of versions. Dead, twisted, malformed. Screaming one word over and over. Stay. 3. The woman enters the house at 2:33 a.m. I heard the knocking again. The woman in black. Only this time, I hadn't touched the door. She was already inside. She floated, not walked. Her hair hung over her face like a veil of shadows. She left wet footprints on the wooden floor. Her dress dragged behind her like it was stitched to another dimension. She stood at the center of the foyer, then whispered in my mother's voice, "Rule 3 is dead. I've come to watch the 9th be broken." 4. The 9th rule must be broken. Rule 9. If you ever see your own reflection blink, run. That means it's too late, but now I knew. The truth, that rule wasn't meant to protect me. It was meant to stall me, delay what was inevitable. I walked to the final mirror, the one in the master bedroom. Stood in front of it. Waited. My reflection stood still, then slowly, deliberately, blinked. I didn't run. I stepped forward. The mirror didn't crack this time. It melted, became liquid, and I walked through. The other side wasn't a reflection. It was the original house, before the rules, before Elias, before the curse. 5. The true hollow house. I walked the same rooms, but everything was perfect. No rot, no blood, no darkness. Family portraits smiled. Sunlight poured through glass. There was warmth in the fireplace, but the people in the house were wrong. They moved like actors, smiled with glassy eyes, repeated the same lines. "It's such a lovely day, Eric. We're so glad you're home. Stay a while. Stay forever." I saw myself seated at the table, eating, and beside him, Vicarus Hollow. His mouth was sewn shut, but the eyes were full of awareness. He stood, raised a finger to the ceiling, and every door in the house slammed. 6. The memory chamber, the dream house, melted away. I was pulled into a room made of mirrors and teeth. Each mirror showed a moment I'd forgotten. The day Elias fell into the river and I didn't help him. The night I saw our mother whispering to the attic and pretended not to hear. The time I found Elias's first rulebook and burned it out of jealousy. This wasn't just the house's memory. It was mine, and I realized something. The house wasn't a curse. It was a punishment. 7. The house chooses. It all came down to one room, the foundation chamber. The EYE.IT blinked again, brighter this time, and a voice rose, deeper than stone. 2 were born. One lived in truth, the other in shadow. One fed it, one fled it, but both are hollow now. The eye opened fully. Inside it, I saw Elias, screaming, clawing from within, and I saw myself beside him. Only one of us was real. 8. The twist of blood. I looked at my hand. IT was turning gray. My reflection had never blinked. I had. The moment I stepped into the house, I hadn't inherited Elias's curse. I'd become Elias. The real Eric never entered. He burned the letter. I was the twin who stayed behind, who listened, who obeyed the rules, and this was my reward. 9. One final rule. As the world collapsed inward, a new scroll appeared in my hand. Scrawled in blood. Scroll. Final rule. If you find this letter and you share it, you are next. 10. Epilogue. The letter arrives again. A young man sits alone at a desk. His mail just arrived. 1 envelope. No stamp, just a wax seal, with 2 wolves devouring each other. He opens it. Reads the first line. "Dear Eric, cut 2 black." I thought the worst was over, but the house never wanted me to leave. My brother's shadow still lives in the mirrors. And now, the 9th rule has changed. Because once you break IT, the house writes new ones in your blood. The candlelight flickered violently as the wind howled outside, though no window was open. I had made it through 8 rules. 8 impossible, terrifying, soul-scarring nights in that cursed house. But something was changing now. Something final. I sat on the cold wooden floor of the attic, staring down at my brother's handwriting. The rules, once written in black ink, were now drenched in something darker, like congealed blood, seeping through the paper as if it were alive. The 9th rule had changed. IT now read, 9. If you reach this point, it means the house has chosen you. And under it, scrawled in frantic loops, There is no leaving. You must take his place. I blinked. Take his place. My heart thundered in my chest. The air tasted of rot and old dust. From behind the attic wall came the scratching again, but this time it wasn't soft. It was clawing, urgent. A tearing sound. Dean? I whispered. Nothing. Just the moaning of the floor beneath me. Then, bang, something struck the attic door from the other side. Once, twice, a third time, and then silenced the mirror prison. I remembered the basement mirror. The one covered in a dusty black sheet. Dean had mentioned it in his last voice message. The one I'd heard hours ago after hacking into his encrypted voicemail. His voice cracked near the end. Whatever you do, Jamie, don't look into the mirror in the basement. It's not a mirror. It's a door. It's where I'm trapped. They made me watch everything. Every night. Over and over. And it's getting hungry again. I stood up, candle in one hand, crowbar in the other. The house moaned as I made my way down from the attic. Every wall seemed to breathe. The air itself was pressing against my skin, heavy with dread. Pictures on the walls changed as I passed. Smiling faces turned to hollow-eyed corpses. One of them was Dean. The other, me. I descended into the basement. The candle flickered wildly as the air dropped 20 degrees. There. It was. That damn mirror. 7 feet tall. The black sheet fluttered slightly as though something behind it had exhaled. I reached forward and ripped it off. The mirror was alive. It shimmered like oil on water. Shapes moved beneath its surface. At first, they looked like shadows. Then I realized they were people. Hundreds. No. Thousands. Trapped behind the glass. Screaming without sound. One of them stood at the front, pounding against the inside of the mirror with bloody fists. Dean. Jamie, he mouthed. It's not a mirror. It's a mouth. Don't let it in. Too late. The mirror shuddered. Cracks formed across the surface, but the glass didn't break. It peeled. Like skin, outstepped something wearing my brother's face. But it wasn't Dean. Its eyes were pitch black. Its smile too wide. It reeked of sulfur and rotting teeth. You read the last rule, it said, smiling. Now take your place. The truth of the rules. I ran. Back up the stairs, through the living room, across the hallway, and froze. The rules, they were everywhere now, scrawled on walls, ceilings, carved into wood, bleeding out of the floor. Rule 1. Don't sleep in Dean's room. Rule 4. If the TV turns on by itself, don't look directly at it. Rule 9. There is no leaving. I screamed and ripped at them, but my hands came away bloody. The rules weren't warnings anymore. They were bindings, chains. This house had been feeding on Dean. Now it wanted me. But then I remembered something my grandmother once told me before she passed, about the family curse. About the watcher of the threshold. The being that haunted firstborn twins in our bloodline. The one that lived between mirrors and rules and broken promises. Only one twin could survive, and the other would be the sacrifice. I had always assumed Dean was the stronger one. The one who got away. But I was wrong. Dean chose this. He gave the house me. In exchange for escape. Or so he thought. The mirrored game. The entity wearing Dean's skin followed me room to room. Each time it spoke, I could hear 2 voices. One was Dean's. The other was older, ancient, deep and gurgling like it had been breathing water for centuries. You broke the mirror's silence, it said. Now the house owns your breath. I turned to fight, but my crowbar melted in, my hand like wax. The furniture rearranged itself into a cage. Then the lights went out. Only the fireplace remained lit. But it didn't burn wood. It burned memories. Flashes came. Me and Dean playing in the backyard, age 7. Our father dragging Dean away from the well, screaming. Our mother whispering, only one of them will live. That's the rule. The rules weren't made to protect me. They were made to keep me blind. The twisted sacrifice that I finally understood. Each generation, the house required one twin to be devoured, body, soul, and reflection. And in exchange, the other would live. A long, safe life, haunted, but alive. Dean had fought it. He'd tried to outsmart the system. He moved out, gave me the house. Thought leaving a note with rules would help. But the house adjusts. The rules aren't static. They evolve. Just like the entity inside. That I couldn't run anymore. So I stopped. Faced the mirror again. It rippled. My brother, my real brother, stood behind it, crying. Please, he said, take my place, just for a night. I can finally be free. Please, Jamie. I hesitated. One night. Just one night that I reached forward, and the mirror sucked me in. The other side. Silence. A world of fog and glass. I saw the house, but inverted. Upside down. Backwards. Inside, my body, now inhabited by Dean, smiled and waved. He picked up the rule sheet, crossed off Rule 9. And wrote a new one. Rule 10. If your twin ever escapes, someone must replace them. The mirror hardened behind me, and I screamed. Forever, the final image. For ending visuals, a young couple drives up to the old house. A new sign hangs on the mailbox. For sale, family estate. Inquire within. Inside the attic, a new sheet of paper waits on the floor, freshly inked. Still bleeding, the 9 rules to survive.